It does, of course, mean job losses, though, and it seems job losses not just through natural attrition. That was the government's promise before the election. Also, forced redundancies as well are expected to take place as a result of the axing of these agencies. Again, the Finance Minister.
Well, obviously, if you reduce the number of government bodies, there will be an impact on jobs across the public service. And, what we will see is that as a result of our reform efforts so far, that the size of the public service will be back down to the same level as what it was in 2007, 2008. We think that's appropriate. We think that in the current environment, where we've inherited a situation with $123 billion of projected deficits, government debt heading for $667 billion within the decade and growing beyond that, that it is incumbent upon us to get all of that under control.
But the coalition said that they would do so through natural attrition. That means, of course, voluntary redundancy. And it seems that some, if not many, of the job losses that will be caused by the axing of these agencies may come from forced redundancies. So is that a broken promise? Because before the election, the government did say that there'd be no forced redundancies in the public service, that all the jobs that go would be through natural attrition.
We said before the election that we would repair the budget, that we would ensure that any waste and duplication and unnecessary overlap across the public service would be eliminated. We said very clearly before the last election that we would ensure that the administration and operation of government is as efficient and as effective as possible. And indeed, we said before the election that we would set up the National Commission of Audit, which of course we did. And many of the things that we're doing now are, of course, implementing recommendations that came out of that National Commission of Audit.
Sure, but you did also say no forced redundancies, and it appears that these redundancies will be forced. So is that breaching a smaller promise to keep a bigger promise?
Well, let's not get ahead of ourselves in terms of how these staff reductions will be managed. Obviously, our preference is always to go through a process of voluntary redundancies. You've got to remember, we inherited a situation undisclosed by the previous government, where the previous government imposed efficiency dividends in the dying days of their government to try and make their numbers look slightly less bad, which were going to lead to 14,500 reductions in public service staff. I mean, that was as a result of decisions, undisclosed decisions of the previous Labor government. Now, obviously, we did not know that before the last election, but